The crystal wine glass trembled in my hand as I watched my mother-in-law's perfectly manicured fingers tap against the mahogany dining table. The sound echoed through the elaborate dining room like a countdown to my execution. I'm Samantha, and for the past 12 years, I've been trying to measure up to Veronica's impossible standards. Tonight's family dinner was no different, another carefully orchestrated performance where she could remind everyone of her dominance. "Darling," Veronica's voice cut through the dinner chatter, "I noticed Zion's grades have been slipping lately. Perhaps if you spent less time managing your grandmother's estate and more time with your son." My 10-year-old son's face fell beside me. I placed my hand on his shoulder, forcing a smile. "Actually, Zion just made the honor roll." "Did he?" She raised an eyebrow, taking a deliberate sip of wine. Must have missed that announcement. My husband Holden remained silent, suddenly fascinated by his roasted potatoes. Typical. The chandelier light caught his wedding ring, the one his mother had helped him choose, and I fought back a wave of bitterness. "Samantha," Wade, my father-in-law, called from across the table. "How is the estate settlement coming along? Your grandmother left quite a legacy, from what I hear." Before I could answer, Veronica's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Oh, Wade, let's not discuss such matters at dinner, though I do hope you're being prudent with the inheritance, dear. Money has a way of changing people." I caught Savannah, my sister-in-law, rolling her eyes. At least someone else saw through Veronica's performance. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of passive-aggressive comments and pointed silences. As everyone moved to the living room for coffee, Veronica cornered me in the hallway. "A word, Samantha." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "In the study." I followed her, my phone heavy in my pocket. Call it intuition or 12 years of experience, but I pressed record just before closing the door behind us. "I'll be direct," Veronica said, perching on the edge of her antique desk. "That inheritance of yours, it's causing problems. Holden tells me you're planning to use it for Zion's college fund?" "Yes, that's what my grandmother wanted." "Your grandmother," she cut in, "isn't here. But I am. And I'm concerned about how this sudden wealth might affect my grandson's future. Money without proper guidance can be destructive." My throat tightened. "What exactly are you saying, Veronica?" "I'm saying that if you don't sign over control of that inheritance to me, to manage properly, I'll have no choice but to protect my grandson from your influence, even if that means ensuring Holden gets full custody." The room spun. "You're threatening to take my son?" "Oh, darling." Her laugh was cold. "It's not a threat. It's a promise. I have connections you couldn't imagine. One call to Judge Harrison." She shrugged. "Well, let's just say he owes me several favors. You have until the family reunion next month to make the right decision." My hands shook as I gripped the back of a chair. "You can't do this." "I've been doing this longer than you've been alive, dear. Did you really think I'd let some inherited money shift the power in this family?" She moved toward the door. "1 month, Samantha. Choose wisely." She left me standing there, my phone still recording. Through the haze of shock and rage, one thought crystallized. For the first time in 12 years, I had proof of who Veronica really was. Back in the living room, I watched her hold court among our relatives, laughing and playing the perfect matriarch. Zion sat at her feet, listening to one of her stories, and my heart clenched. She had no idea that her perfectly constructed world was about to shatter. I pulled out my phone, hands still trembling, and texted my sister Andrea. "Need to talk. Now. It's time to take her down." Across the room, Veronica caught my eye and raised her coffee cup in a mock toast. I smiled back, thinking of the recordings safely captured on my phone. 1 month until the family reunion. 1 month to plan my response to her ultimatum. Game on, Veronica. As I gathered Zion's things to leave, Savannah touched my arm. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm fine," I said, watching Veronica kiss Holden goodbye. Just thinking about the future. And I was. A future where my son wouldn't grow up under Veronica's manipulation. A future where I finally stood up for myself. The weight of the phone in my pocket felt like armor, and for the first time in years, I felt something new. Hope. Play it again, Andrea said, leaning forward on her couch, wine glass forgotten in her hand. I pressed play on my phone, and Veronica's cold voice filled the room for the third time that evening. That manipulative witch! Andrea slammed her glass down. She's actually threatening to take Zion away. Can she even do that? I ran my fingers over the old photo album in my lap, the one Grandma had given me before she passed. With her connections? Maybe, but I'm done letting her win. About time, Andrea said, pulling her legs under her. Remember what Grandma always said? The truth has a way of setting itself free. The memory hit me like a wave. Grandma's kitchen warm with the scent of chocolate chip cookies, her wise eyes crinkling as she taught me about standing up for myself. Life's too short to live in fear, sweetie, she'd say, showing me how to measure ingredients with confident hands. My phone buzzed, interrupting the memory. A text from Holden. Mom's worried about you. Says you seemed off at dinner. Everything okay? I showed Andrea the message. She snorted. Of course she's worried. She's probably already plotting her next move. Actually? I pulled up my email, showing Andrea the message I'd received that morning. Look what Veronica's already done. Andrea's eyes widened as she read the email from the family lawyer. She's filing a petition questioning your mental fitness to manage the inheritance. On what grounds? Apparently my emotional instability makes me unfit to handle large sums of money. I laughed bitterly. She's moving faster than I expected. Then we move faster, Andrea said, grabbing her laptop. The reunion's in 4 weeks. We need allies. I might have one already. Savannah. Veronica's daughter. Andrea raised an eyebrow. She sees through her mother's act. Last week she told me about how Veronica tried to sabotage her wedding because she didn't approve of the groom. Andrea started typing. Okay, so Savannah's a potential ally. Who else? A knock at the front door made us both jump. I opened it to find Daniel, our family friend and neighbour, holding a casserole dish. Thought you might need this, he said, stepping inside. Saw you rushing over here looking upset after the dinner at Veronica's. Andrea and I exchanged glances. Daniel had been friends with the family for years, and more importantly, he'd witnessed Veronica's manipulation, firsthand. Actually, Daniel, I said, taking the dish, we could use your advice. Over the next hour, we played him the recording and outlined what we knew. His usual jovial expression grew serious. I've watched that woman destroy relationships for years, he said finally. It's time someone stood up to her. Count me in. My phone buzzed again. Another email. My hands shook as I read it. She's called an emergency meeting with the estate lawyers tomorrow, I whispered. She's not waiting for my answer. She's trying to force their hand now. Then we don't wait either, Andrea said firmly. The reunion's too far away. We need to act sooner. Daniel leaned forward. The garden party next week. Veronica's hosting it for the hospital board members. All her precious connections will be there. No, I said, an idea forming. The reunion is perfect. Let her think she's winning. Let her get comfortable. Meanwhile, I pulled up my contacts. Savannah, can you meet tomorrow? There's something you need to hear. After setting up the meeting, I opened Grandma's photo album again. There she was, strong and smiling, teaching me to bake in that sunny kitchen. On the back of the photo, her handwriting still clear. To my brave girl, remember, standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Grandma knew, I said softly. She knew Veronica would try something like this. It's why she left such detailed records of her wishes for the inheritance. Andrea squeezed my hand. Then let's make her proud. Daniel stood up, determination in his eyes. I'll start documenting every interaction I've witnessed between you and Veronica, build a pattern of her behaviour. And I'll talk to Wade, Andrea added. Your father-in-law might be quiet, but he sees more than he lets on. I nodded, feeling stronger than I had in years. One thing's certain, Veronica won't see this coming. She thinks I'm the same quiet, compliant daughter-in-law I've always been. Her mistake, Andrea grinned. She never realized that the quiet ones are the most dangerous when pushed too far. As I drove home that night, Grandma's words echoed in my mind. The truth has a way of setting itself free. Soon, very soon, Veronica would learn just how free the truth could be. The coffee shop buzzed with morning activity as I waited for Savannah. My hands clutched a manila envelope containing copies of Veronica's emails, the recorded conversation, and years of documented incidents I'd been quietly collecting. Savannah swept in, designer sunglasses hiding what looked like tired eyes. This better be good, Sam. I had to tell Mom I was at yoga. Listen to this first, I said, sliding my phone across the table and pressing play. As Veronica's threats filled her earbuds, Savannah's perfectly composed face crumbled. She yanked out the earbuds before the recording finished. That manipulative bye... She caught herself glancing around. I knew she was planning something, but this? There's more. I opened the envelope. Look at these emails to the lawyers. Savannah's hands trembled as she read. She's using the same playbook she used on me during my divorce. Emotional instability. Concerns about financial responsibility. God, it's like reading my own story. I need your help, Savannah. The reunion... Say no more. She pulled out her phone. I've got years of dirt on her. Remember last Christmas when she accidentally leaked those photos of Jessica's daughter at that party? Nearly ruined the poor girl's college applications. I have the texts proving it was deliberate. A message from Holden lit up my phone. Where are you? Mom's here. She's upset about something. Speaking of the devil, I muttered, showing Savannah the text. Go, she said, gathering the documents. I'll make copies of everything. And, Sam, be careful. When she's backed into a corner, she gets dangerous. I rushed home to find Veronica perched on my living room sofa, Holden standing by the window with his arms crossed. Care to explain this? Veronica thrust her phone at me. On the screen was an email from her lawyer mentioning my request for all documentation related to Grandma's estate. I'm just being thorough, I said, keeping my voice steady. It's a lot of money. Money you clearly can't handle, she snapped. Holden, tell her. Holden shifted uncomfortably. Sam, maybe Mom's right. You've been acting strange lately. Secretive. Maybe it would be better to let someone with more experience... More experience? I cut in. You mean someone like your mother, who's never worked a day in her life but somehow controls everyone's finances? Don't take that tone with my son, Veronica stood, her voice sharp. Your son? What about my son? You're threatening to take him away from me. Holden's head snapped up. What? Mum, what is she talking about? Veronica's laugh was practiced. Perfect. Oh, darling, she's clearly overwhelmed. This is exactly why I'm concerned. These paranoid accusations. Paranoid. I grabbed my phone, finger hovering over the play button. Should we listen to our conversation in your study? The colour drained from Veronica's face. You recorded me. That's illegal. Actually, I smiled, in this state, only one party needs to consent to a recording. I looked it up. Holden stepped between us. Both of you stop. Sam, whatever you think you're doing. What I'm doing? I turned to him. What about what she's doing? What about what she's always done? Ask Savannah about her divorce. Ask Wade about the family business she nearly destroyed. Ask anyone. Enough! Veronica grabbed her purse. Holden, we're leaving. And Samantha, remember what we discussed? Time is running out. After they left, I sank onto the sofa, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed with a text from Savannah. Got everything copied. Meeting Wade for lunch tomorrow. He wants to help. Another message followed, this one from Andrea. Daniel found old emails from Veronica to the hospital board. You won't believe what she did to that nurse who stood up to her. The front door opened and Holden walked back in. We need to talk. Now you want to talk? I stood. After 12 years of watching your mother tear me down. Sam, she's just protective. Protective? She's threatening to take our son. You don't have proof. Actually, I do. But you know what hurts most? That I needed proof in the first place. That you never just believed me. He reached for me, but I stepped back. I need time to think, he said quietly. Take all the time you need. The reunion's in 3 weeks. Maybe by then you'll decide whose side you're really on. After he left, I called Andrea. It's happening. Holden knows something's up. Good. she said. Let him squirm. Meanwhile, Savannah's got Wade on board. Daniel's gathering more evidence. We're building an army, sis. An army against Veronica. The thought would have terrified me a month ago. Now it felt like freedom. My phone buzzed with another message from Savannah. Mom's calling everyone. Damage control mode. She's scared, Sam. For the first time ever, she's actually scared. Good, I thought. She should be. Mommy, why isn't Daddy sleeping here anymore? Zion asked over his cereal bowl, his small face pinched with worry. I set down my coffee cup, choosing my words carefully. Dad just needs some time to think about things. He's staying at Grandma's for a few days. Because of the fighting? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Wade stood on the porch looking uncomfortable in his casual clothes, so different from his usual business suits. Can we talk? He asked, glancing at Zion. Maybe while he's at school. After dropping Zion off, I met Wade at a quiet diner on the edge of town. He ordered coffee but just stared into the cup. Veronica doesn't know I'm here, he finally said. She thinks I'm at a board meeting. How long have you been lying to her, Wade? He flinched. 28 years of marriage, you learn to navigate. You mean survive. Look, he leaned forward. I saw what she did to Savannah during the divorce, watched her manipulate every situation until our daughter nearly lost everything. I kept quiet then. I won't make that mistake again. I pulled out my phone, showing him the recording. His face grew darker with each word. She's gotten worse, he whispered. More desperate to control everything. Last week I found her going through my office files at 3 a.m., looking for something to use against you. Did she find anything? No, but she did find this. He slid an envelope across the table. Your grandmother's original letter to the lawyers. The one outlining exactly why she left the inheritance directly to you, not the family trust Veronica wanted. My hands shook as I read Grandma's words. To protect my granddaughter from those who would seek to control her future. She knew, Wade said softly. Your grandmother saw right through Veronica from the start. The diner door chimed. Holden walked in, stopping short when he saw us. His face hardened as he approached our table. Dad, what are you doing here? Son, Wade started. Save it. Holden turned to me. Is this what you've been doing, turning my family against my mother? Your mother is turning them against herself, I shot back. Ask your father about the business deals she sabotaged last year. Ask him about the threats, the manipulation. All I see is you destroying our family. Holden's voice rose, drawing stares. Ever since that inheritance. Sit down, Wade's voice cracked like a whip. And for once in your life, listen to someone besides your mother. Holden sat, surprised by his father's tone. Remember your cousin Rachel's wedding? Wade asked. How she suddenly called it off and moved away? Want to know why? Your mother threatened to expose her father's gambling debts unless she broke up with the unsuitable groom. That's not, Holden started. Or, how about my heart surgery last year? The timing seemed odd, didn't it? That's because your mother convinced my doctor to move it up, so I'd miss the shareholders' meeting where we were voting on selling part of the company. She was protecting our interests. She was protecting her control, I cut in, just like she's doing now with Zion. Holden's phone buzzed, Veronica's face lighting up the screen. He stared at it, then declined the call. The reunion, Wade said. Whatever you're planning, count me in. It's time. Planning? What reunion? Holden looked between us. I stood gathering my things. You'll find out soon enough. Maybe then you'll understand why I had to fight back. Sam, wait. Holden reached for my arm. No. I pulled away. You've had 12 years to wait, to watch, to say something. Your time for waiting is over. Outside, Wade caught up with me. Veronica's planning something for the reunion too. She's been making calls, calling in favors. Whatever you're going to do, let her plan, I said, thinking of the evidence mounting in my favor, of the allies gathering around me. She thinks she's the only one who knows how to play this game. My phone buzzed with a text from Savannah. Mum's called an emergency family meeting for tonight. She's panicking. Another message followed from Andrea. Daniel found the nurse Veronica blackmailed. She's willing to talk. Wade squeezed my shoulder. Be careful. When Veronica feels trapped. I know, I said, watching Holden through the diner window, still staring at his silent phone. But I'm done being careful. I'm done being quiet. And most of all, I'm done letting her win. The reunion was 2 weeks away. Veronica was gathering her weapons, calling in her favors, fortifying her walls. Let her. She didn't realize that while she was building walls, I was building an army. And unlike her, my army was fighting for the truth. 1 week, Andrea said, spreading documents across my kitchen table. Are you ready for this? Before I could answer, Daniel burst through the door, waving a USB drive. Got it. The hospital board recordings. You won't believe what's on here. Savannah followed him in, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood. Mum's losing it. She's called 3 different lawyers today alone. She knows we're up to something, I said, sorting through the evidence we'd gathered. Yesterday, she sent a concerned citizen letter to Zion's school suggesting I'm unstable. Predictable, Andrea scoffed. She's recycling old tricks. My phone lit up with a text from Wade. V called the judge, pushing for emergency hearing about the inheritance, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Perfect timing, Daniel grinned, plugging in the USB. Wait till they hear this. The recording crackled to life, Veronica's voice clear as she threatened the head nurse. Either she transfers, or your daughter's scholarship disappears. Board members have influence at universities, you know. That's just the start, Daniel said. There's dozens of these. Savannah leaned against the counter, arms crossed. She's been calling relatives, telling them you're having a mental breakdown, that you're paranoid, delusional. Like she did with you? I asked softly. Exactly like that. Savannah's eyes hardened. But this time we have proof. The front door opened again. Holden stood there, looking lost. Sam, can we talk? Everyone tensed. Andrea stepped between us. Haven't you done enough? It's okay, I said. Give us a minute. They filed out reluctantly, leaving Holden staring at the evidence spread across the table. What is all this? The truth. I played one of the recordings, Veronica threatening Wade's doctor. Holden sank into a chair. That's really Mom. That's really your mother. There's more, so much more. The reunion, he said slowly. You're going to expose her? Yes. He ran his hands through his hair. Sam, she's my mother. And Zion is your son, who she's threatening to take away from me. I could stop you, he said quietly. Tell her what you're planning. You could, but you won't. How do you know? I slid Grandma's letter across the table, because deep down, you know this has to end. He read the letter, his hands shaking. All these years, I thought you were exaggerating, that Mom was just protective. She's destroying people, Holden. She destroyed Savannah's marriage, threatened Wade's health, ruined careers. And now she's coming for our son. The door cracked open. Zion peeked in. Dad, are you coming home? Holden looked at our son, then at the evidence of his mother's manipulation. I don't know, buddy. But I do know your mom is very brave, and I should have seen that sooner. After Zion went to bed, we reconvened around the table. So, Andrea asked Holden, are you with us or against us? I can't. He swallowed hard. I can't actively help expose my mother, but I won't stop you either. Coward, Savannah spat. No, I touched her arm. It's enough. He's choosing not to warn her. That's something. My phone buzzed. A message from Veronica. Dinner tomorrow night. Non-negotiable. We need to discuss your recent behavior. She's making her move, Daniel said, reading over my shoulder. Good, Andrea smiled grimly. Let her think she's in control. Meanwhile, I've invited some special guests to the reunion. That nurse she threatened? She's bringing friends. Savannah checked her phone. Mum's already at the venue planning seating arrangements, making sure her loyal supporters are close by. Let her plan, I said, thinking of Grandma's words about truth setting itself free. We've got something better than loyal supporters. We've got proof. Holden stood. I should go. But Sam? He paused at the door. Whatever happens, I'm sorry for not seeing it sooner. After he left, we finalized our strategy. Andrea would handle the technical setup, ensuring the recordings played clearly. Daniel would coordinate with the former victims of Veronica's manipulation. Savannah would keep her mother distracted with venue details. 1 week, I breathed, looking at our battle plans. After 12 years, 1 week until everything changes. Are you scared? Andrea asked. Terrified, I admitted. But you know what scares me more? The thought of Zion growing up thinking Veronica's behavior is normal, that manipulation and control equal love. Then let's end it, Savannah said firmly, once and for all. Looking at our gathered evidence, at the faces of my allies, I felt something shift inside me. Fear giving way to determination, doubt hardening into resolve. 1 week until the reunion. 1 week until Veronica's carefully constructed world came crashing down. Let her come to dinner tomorrow. Let her think she's winning. Her time was almost up, and she didn't even know it. The reunion venue buzzed with activity as caterers rushed around, setting up tables under Veronica's critical eye. I watched from the entrance as she adjusted a flower arrangement, perfectly poised in her designer dress. Everything's ready, Andrea whispered, appearing beside me. Speakers tested, recordings queued up. Daniel's got the video presentation ready to go. Mrs. Johnson, a caterer approached Veronica. Where would you like the champagne tower? By the main table, of course, she snapped. And make sure it's the expensive champagne. We're not savages. Savannah brushed past us, clipboard in hand. Mom's suspicious. She's had 3 people checking for recording devices. Little late for that, Andrea smirked. The first guests began arriving. Distant relatives, business associates, all carefully selected by Veronica to witness what she thought would be her ultimate triumph. She'd spent the week spreading rumors about my mental state, preparing her audience for whatever show she had planned. Samantha! Veronica's voice rang across the room. Darling, you look tired. Is everything all right? Never better. I smiled, watching her eyes narrow at my confidence. Wade appeared, adjusting his tie. Veronica, the judge is here. Wonderful, she beamed. Show him to the main table. I caught Wade's subtle wink as he led the judge away. We'd made sure Judge Harrison knew exactly what was coming. Mom's going to make her move during the toasts, Savannah murmured as she passed. She's got paperwork in her purse, something about emergency custody. My heart raced, but I kept my face neutral. Let her think she had the upper hand. Holden arrived with Zion, both in matching suits. My son ran to hug me while Holden hung back, looking uncomfortable. Quite a turnout, he said, scanning the growing crowd. Your mother always did know how to draw an audience, I replied. The room filled quickly. I recognized faces from Daniel's investigation. The nurse Veronica had threatened, a former business partner she'd blackmailed, all strategically seated where they needed to be. 5 minutes until dinner. Andrea checked her phone. Ready? Before I could answer, Veronica clinked her glass. Everyone, please find your seats. I have a special announcement to make before we eat. The guests moved to their tables. I sat between Andrea and Zion, watching Veronica take her place at the head table. Family, friends, she began, her voice carrying that practiced warmth. We're gathered here not just for a reunion, but to address a serious matter. Here it comes. As many of you know, our family has faced some challenges lately. My beloved daughter-in-law, she paused for effect, has been struggling. The pressure of managing her inheritance, the responsibility. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I felt Zion's hand slip into mine, which is why, as family matriarch, I've taken steps to protect our interests. Judge Harrison? The judge stood, but instead of the papers Veronica expected, he pulled out a different document. Yes, Mrs. Johnson, I have reviewed all the evidence thoroughly. Veronica's smile faltered slightly. The custody papers will not be necessary, he finished firmly. In fact, given the evidence I've seen of systematic manipulation and coercion. What evidence? Veronica's voice sharpened. What is he talking about? I stood, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Maybe we should show everyone exactly what he's talking about. Daniel dimmed the lights, a screen lowered behind Veronica. "What is this?" she demanded. "Stop this immediately." "Play it," I nodded to Andrea. The first recording filled the room, Veronica threatening me in her study. Then the hospital board recording, then more. Years of threats, manipulation, and cruelty played out before her carefully gathered audience. Veronica lunged for the podium, but Wade caught her arm. "Sit down," he said quietly. "For once in your life, sit down and listen." The colour drained from her face as she watched her own words condemn her, her perfectly orchestrated evening crumbling around her. "You recorded me," she hissed. "This is illegal. I'll sue." "No, you won't," Savannah stood, "because I have more. We all do." One by one, people began to stand, each with their own story, their own evidence of Veronica's manipulation. "Mom?" Holden's voice cracked. "What did you do?" Veronica's eyes darted around the room, finding no allies among the faces she'd so carefully selected. Her hand clutched her chest as she realized she'd gathered her own witnesses to her downfall. The night was just beginning, and already her carefully constructed world was unraveling. As the evidence continued to play, I held Zion close, watching the truth finally break free. "Turn it off!" Veronica's voice cracked through the stunned silence as the last recording faded. "This is nothing but a vindictive attack." "Is it vindictive to tell the truth?" The nurse she'd threatened stood up. "You destroyed my career because I wouldn't transfer that patient according to your wishes." "Margaret, please," Veronica started. "Don't Margaret me. I lost everything because of you. My job, my daughter's scholarship." Others began standing, their voices overlapping. "You blackmailed my husband's company. You threatened my family. You manipulated the hospital board." Veronica grabbed her purse, heading for the door, but Wade blocked her path. "Running away won't fix this." "Fix what?" she snarled. "I protected this family. Everything I did was for us." "No," Savannah stepped forward. "Everything you did was for control. You didn't protect us. You terrorized us." "Holden?" Veronica turned to her son, voice trembling. "Tell them. Tell them how I've only ever wanted what's best." "Like you wanted what was best when you threatened to take my son away," I cut in, my voice carrying across the silent room. "When you tried to steal my inheritance?" "That money should have gone to the family trust," she snapped. "Not some naive girl who doesn't understand." "I understand perfectly." I pulled out Grandma's letter. "My grandmother understood too. Should I read what she wrote about you?" "Don't you dare!" "To my dear Samantha," I read loudly. "I leave this inheritance to you directly, knowing that certain individuals will attempt to control it. I've watched how they operate, how they manipulate and threaten. This is your chance at freedom." Holden stepped closer, his face ashen. "Mom, did you really threaten to take Zion?" "I was protecting him." "From what?" Zion's small voice cut through the chaos. He stood beside me, tears in his eyes. "From Mom?" Veronica's carefully maintained facade cracked. "Sweetheart, you don't understand." "I understand," he said quietly. "You're mean. You hurt people." The room fell silent. Veronica's hands shook as she reached for her grandson, but he stepped back, pressing against my side. Judge Harrison cleared his throat. "Mrs. Johnson, given the evidence presented, I'm issuing an immediate restraining order. You are to have no contact with Samantha or Zion pending a full investigation." "You can't do this," she turned to the crowd. "These people are lying. They're all conspiring." "Like you conspired to ruin my wedding," Savannah's voice cracked. "Like you conspired against Dad's business partners. Face it, Mom. Your games are over." "Wade," Veronica pleaded. "Do something." "I've done something," he said quietly. "I've finally stopped enabling you." Andrea stepped forward with a thick folder. "We have copies of everything. The recordings, the emails, the witness statements. Every threat, every manipulation, every lie. You'll all regret this. Veronica's voice turned cold. I made this family what it is. Without me. Without you, I cut in. We can finally heal. Holden moved to stand beside me and Zion. Mom, you need help. Professional help. Traitor, she spat. After everything I've done for you. Everything you've done to him, Savannah corrected. To all of us. Security guards appeared at the doors, part of our carefully orchestrated plan. Daniel nodded to them. Mrs. Johnson, one guard stepped forward. Please come with us. Don't touch me. I am Veronica Johnson. Are leaving, Wade finished firmly. Now. As the guards escorted her out, her perfectly crafted world collapsed completely. The gathered crowd watched in stunned silence as the family matriarch, the puppet master, was finally stripped of her power. Dad? Zion tugged at Holden's sleeve. Is Grandma going away? Holden knelt beside our son. For a while, buddy, until she gets the help she needs. The room buzzed with conversation as people began sharing their stories, years of suppressed truth finally breaking free. Andrea hugged me tight while Savannah wiped tears from her eyes. It's really over, she whispered. Not quite, I said, watching Wade gather the evidence folders. There's still legal matters, investigations. But she can't hurt anyone anymore, Daniel added. That's what matters. Judge Harrison approached our group. I'll need formal statements from everyone, but for now, he smiled kindly. Well done. As the adrenaline faded, I felt Holden's hand slip into mine. I'm so sorry, he whispered, for not believing you, for not seeing. We all see now. I squeezed his hand, watching our son chat with his Aunt Savannah. That's what matters. Outside, we could hear Veronica's protests fading as she was led away. Inside, surrounded by truth-tellers and survivors, a different kind of family was forming. One built on honesty instead of fear, support instead of control. The night wasn't over, but the hardest part was done. The truth was out, and there was no putting it back in its box. The morning sun streamed through Grandma's kitchen window as I measured flour into a mixing bowl. Zion sat at the counter, carefully cracking eggs just like she'd taught me years ago. Perfect technique, buddy, I smiled, watching him fish out a tiny piece of shell. The doorbell rang, Savannah and Andrea arriving with boxes of old photo albums. We'd been sorting through family memories, separating truth from Veronica's carefully crafted fiction. Look what we found. Savannah held up a dusty photograph. Mom's first wedding, before she married Dad. The one she claimed never happened? I wiped flour from my hands. The very one. Turns out she has quite a history of rewriting the past. The kitchen filled with the smell of chocolate chip cookies as Holden arrived with Wade, carrying more boxes. The lawyers called? Wade said, setting down his load. Veronica's agreed to therapy as part of the settlement. Real therapy this time, not just for show. Has she said anything about the letters? Andrea asked. I shook my head. We'd discovered dozens of intercepted letters in Veronica's study, correspondence she'd hidden from family members for years, maintaining her web of isolation and control. The hospital board voted yesterday, Daniel called from the doorway, joining our growing gathering. They're reinstating Margaret and reviewing every decision Veronica influenced. Zion looked up from his eggs. Is Grandma still mad at us? Holden pulled up a stool beside his son. Grandma's sick, buddy. Not like a cold, but in a way that made her hurt people. She's getting help now. Can we send her cookies? Zion asked, surprising us all. Maybe someday, I said softly. When she's ready. The oven timer dinged. As I pulled out the first batch of cookies, their warm, sweet scent filled the kitchen, just like it had when Grandma taught me to bake. To stand up for myself, to be brave. The trust papers are finalized, Wade mentioned, accepting a warm cookie. Everything's in your name now, Sam. No conditions, no controls. What about the house? Savannah asked. Sold, Holden answered. Mom's downsizing, doctor's orders, new environment, fresh start. I watched our unlikely family gathered in this kitchen. Wade sharing cookies with his grandchild, Savannah and Andrea sorting photos, Daniel discussing hospital politics with Holden. All the walls Veronica built between us had crumbled. "Sam?" Holden caught my hand. "There's something I need to say." "You don't have to." "I do." He took a deep breath. "I spent my whole life letting Mom control everything because it was easier than fighting. I watched her hurt you, hurt everyone, and said nothing. I can't change that, but I can promise it won't happen again." "Look what I found." Zion held up a photo, me and Grandma baking in this very kitchen. On the back, her familiar handwriting. "Remember, love doesn't control. It sets free." The doorbell rang again. Judge Harrison stood outside with Margaret, the nurse, and several other former victims of Veronica's manipulation. "Hope we're not interrupting," Margaret smiled. "We brought more photos. More stories." "Perfect timing." I gestured to the fresh cookies. "We're just getting started." As everyone settled in, sharing stories and treats, I realized something profound. Veronica had spent years trying to control the narrative, to keep us isolated and dependent. But here we were, building something stronger than her manipulation, genuine connections, honest relationships, real family. "Mom," Zion tugged my sleeve, "can you teach me Grandma's secret cookie recipe, the real one?" "Of course, baby." I pulled him close, remembering Grandma's words about truth setting us free. "That's what family does. Passes down the real stories, the true legacy." Wade raised his coffee cup. "To new beginnings." "And old recipes," Andrea added. "And the truth," Savannah finished. As laughter and conversation filled the kitchen, I looked at these people. Not bound by Veronica's manipulation anymore, but by choice and love and truth. The inheritance wasn't just money or property, it was this: the freedom to build authentic relationships, to share real stories, to bake cookies with my son without fear of judgment or control. Holden squeezed my hand. "You okay?" "Better than okay," I smiled, watching Zion measure vanilla extract with intense concentration. "We're free." Outside, spring sunshine warmed the garden where Grandma used to tend her roses. Inside, the kitchen filled with the sweet smell of cookies and the sweeter sound of honest laughter. This was the real legacy, not Veronica's carefully constructed facade, but something authentic and imperfect, and true, just like Grandma's slightly misshapen, absolutely perfect chocolate chip cookies.